I'm Amy, sex educator, somatic sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com. Hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Gems, crystals, gems.
All the heart chakras are open.
I'm I want to share information about crystals and gems with you, everyone. So if you don't love them, tune out now. No, don't leave us. Don't leave us because we have a great podcast. One that April was not here for. That's not why it's great. It's always more great. See, bad grammar is greater. It's always better when April's there. But she wasn't because I went my own way in LA. She went on a podcast. You went on Emily's podcast.
Sex Emily, yeah.
I don't know when that one is coming out. Maybe it's already out. We don't know.
No, I think next week.
Oh, it will have already probably be out then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you went on a podcast, and then I went on a podcast, and we did a dual release.
Sometimes we have to divide and conquer.
We divided. We conquered, and now we're back together again. So this podcast is recorded with Aaron Alexander of the Align podcast. He is a rolfer and movement coach. And we're both talking about all kinds of things, not just sex, but he does share some stuff about multi-orgasms for men and ejaculatory control in his practice and how he learned and how that's affected his life. But we talk about all kinds of fun things.
His podcast is pretty big, right?
His podcast is really big, and he and Instagram is 39.9K followers.
Ooh.
So if you want to learn more about him on Instagram, go to Align Podcast on Instagram. And
if you're not following Shameless Sex, go to @ShamelessSexPodcast on Instagram.
Yeah.
We put out a lot of amazing posts.
Yep. Go check us out.
Sometimes we give away free stuff.
And we have a blog now.
And we have a blog.
We be blogging?
I have 1,500 words.
Are you almost ready to post your blog?
Yeah, but I have to proofread it. And then you have to go in and add all the links and things and pictures. So I'm a perfectionist when it comes to writing.
I know.
So this one's taken me a long time because we've been busy all last week. It was crazy.
I know. Yeah.
So it's going to go up. Amy and I are switching off weeks writing.
Yeah. So I'll be next week.
Yeah.
We're blogging. So about the gems and crystals, though, everyone.
Yeah.
So April, have you ever had your chart read?
I have.
You
my
have?
Astrological chart, both my Vedic chart and my Western astrology chart.
Did you learn lots of things?
I did. I actually really value getting my charts read.
Wait, didn't having your chart read help you to figure out if you should stay married or not?
No, that was a psychic
that
I had. No, but before I actually committed to going forward with dating my current partner, I had to know the time he was born.
You did the charts.
I did my compatibility charts with him, Vedic compatibility. And then later, after we were dating, because I did get the green light, I went into, and that's something that maybe not all folks believe in. I know a lot of people think it's like junk science. It's not science at all, but astrology is very ancient and actually has some very beautiful tie-ins to so many parts of your life that you, I don't know, can kind of relate to.
Yeah.
Aspects about yourself.
I find it absolutely fascinating. I'm just always open because I think it's also open to interpretation too, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the empowering piece for me, is that someone can give me a whole bunch of information and then I can choose to do what I want with it. They're not telling me how I should live.
Yeah.
So I had my chart read. It was absolutely fascinating by someone named Julia, who has a website called empoweryourelements.com, and she does free 15-minute discovery calls if you want to learn more to find out if it's for you. But okay, so if you're if you don't like gems and crystal talk, you can just chill for like a minute and we'll be back to the sexy stuff. But so I discovered that I already knew this. That I was I have a lot of water in my chart.
Yeah, because you're a Scorpio rising and a Pisces sun. What's your moon?
Gemini
moon.
So the interesting thing that she was saying is that because I have all this water in my chart, because the questions she was asking me about water, I didn't really identify with, like really overly sensitive, not overly, but super sensitive, crying easily, all these things that are a little more watery. And so the Gemini part is actually, Gemini moon part is what kind of gets in the way of that.
Is that air? Is Gemini air?
Yeah. Super heady and kind of like overly logical. And so I'm trying to kind of justify things and not allowing myself to feel, a tendency to detach from my feelings, which I thought was really interesting to just see, because that rings so true for me. And so that's kind of my work here, is to to be able to allow myself to feel more, which is what I'm constantly working on. But I guess it just feels good to have a reminder that's just like a part of me,
Yeah.
you know. So and then there was also an interesting relationship for me between the masculine and the feminine, and that it's like a challenging relationship, which you and I both feel, with this balance between masculine and feminine, that sometimes we go too much to one side, a lot more to the masculine as well. So it just really showed me these really interesting things that I just kind of like empowered me in a way where I could feel more, I don't know, like more like, oh yeah, that makes that's like that is a challenge for me, and it isn't always. I'm not broken, you know. It's something that I can learn and work on, and then it just gave me some really good questions on how I can move forward. So I just wanted to share that with you because I'm super.
And
excited
people can
about
learn about what their sun sign is, what their ascendant sign is, or rising sign, and then what your moon sign is. The astrologer will go deeper into that.
They personalize it for you.
All the closest women to me in my life, like my best girlfriends, are all Scorpio rising. It's bizarre. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
So I'm Scorpio rising too.
Oh.
I'm Cancer sun, Scorpio rising, and Taurus moon. So I'm double water, earth.
Double water?
Fucking stubborn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, stubborn.
And I don't cry ever, but when I do, it's nasty.
I bet that earthiness is getting in the way of your wateriness. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Are we
not.
talking about ourselves too much now?
I don't know. Gems, crystals, me. So if you want to learn more about that, though, go to empoweryourelements.com and you can learn more. She's awesome. And the way she speaks too is like, it's for everyday folks, right? Like, I think some of the astrologers are kind of like already living in the stars, and so I can't understand them sometimes. It's like, what language are you speaking? And the way that she speaks, Julia, when she does your reading, is just like, you get it. She's speaking to you.
Well,
so
certain
really
astrologers are better than others. They really are. And some of them, when you resonate with one, it's like making a friend.
Yeah, you find the right one for you.
Yeah. So definitely, Julia would be a good resource.
Check that out.
Check it out.
Okay, so before we dive in the podcast, we want to talk about OMG Yes.
We talk about it all the time, but if it's your first time tuning in, or you haven't actually ever even gone on their website, just go to omgs.com and check it out. It's 62 episodes on season 1
Videos.
of external vulva stimulation.
Yes, and techniques on how to, things that you never thought were even possible, or maybe thought they're possible, but they are not what you see on porn, that you maybe have never tried in your body. And then once you do, you're like, holy shit, I'm having way more powerful orgasms, and I didn't even know that was possible.
They're real humans.
Yeah, real humans.
People, and they're not actors. They're not paid actors or anything. So
completely research-based.
Yep, and all different ages, all different vulva.
Yes.
And vulvas obviously come in so many different shapes, and they're like fingerprints. Everyone is different.
Yep.
So,
and if you go to their website, they have some free videos you can watch on there too. So when you you buy season 1, and it's really affordable, you get $5 off if you go to omgs.com/shameless, you get $5 off of $39, and then you can watch them unlimited amount of times forever.
Yeah.
But they have some free videos so you can get a feel for what they're talking about. Very, very tasteful.
Yeah.
It changed my life, and it changes the lives of my clients all the time.
And you could always go to shamelessx.com and click the OMGS link on our homepage.
Do it. We love you so much. All right. Anything else before we go on the podcast?
Oh, I guess if anybody hasn't bought their gifts for whatever birthday month in February, Valentine's Day gifts, you could go to purepleasureshop.com, buy some gifts.
Woohoo! Yeah, we have
sexy gifts.
Coupon code is in the beginning and the end of this podcast, but you get 15% off with coupon code ShamelessPP in all caps.
There you go.
Look at all our wonderful shout outs. Oh, and then the one other shout out too, we have our online workshop, How to Be a Badass in the Bedroom. We decided that for the next month, we're cutting the price in half because we want to
make it affordable to all and run a special because it is Valentine's Day. Some people might just want to like kick up their erotic life.
And things should be affordable. Like we really, this is a free avenue for you all to listen. But we also want to make things affordable and accessible. We give away some really great tools, and this is specifically for female identified folks about how to be your most badass erotic self, including tapping into your body, into your desire, and then some touch stuff, and really how to just be your most sensual, juicy self. And if you're someone that struggles with that, like we do, right? We teach you the tools that really have been working for us, but we want to make it more accessible and affordable. So go check that out. Go to our website, shamelessx.com, and if you click on workshops, it will all be on there, and it is half the price.
$99 gets you all the access to the videos.
We love
you. And only until about March 1st.
Yep.
So if you know or you didn't know, now you know.
If you don't know, now you know, Chip.
Should we do this podcast thing?
Let's do it. Well, I'm doing it. You're leaving.
Oh, I'm going to listen to it.
You listen here. Ready? I'll press play for
I'll
you
see
right
you
now.
all later.
Bye.
My own vibrator.
Yeah.
I've got all the stuff. It's just for your fascia.
I wonder what kind of sexy things we
Which
could do.
even a
This.
sexy vibrator is for your fascia.
This could be good for some grinding against.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, grinding.
Yeah, it's got all these wonderful textures.
I like that. What are some of the sex toys that are like that people? What's the starting point for sex toys?
The starting point, like you're brand new and you've never done any sex toy business before.
Yeah. Like traditional. What's that? What do they call that? Manual. What's the traditional when the guys
missionary?
Missionary.
Oh, yeah.
For like a missionary person. Yeah. It's like I just like missionary. I don't have tools.
I just stick it in and it happens.
Yeah. Where do they start?
For those people, it depends what they want because there's such a diversity of what's available. You want something that's going to stimulate the penis. Is it? Are you talking about a straight couple here? I guess if you say missionary, then maybe you're referring to that. Are we talking about what a vulva might want for couples play, for solo play? As someone who has spent many years of the beginning of my career in the human sexuality realm, working in a very sex-positive sex shop that my mom and I started years ago, over 10 years ago. We get those new people, and like what they come in like, I don't know what I want. What's the best? Like, man, we got to really narrow it down to the individual and what it is that they're interested in, because what one person's idea of the best is or what works is going to be completely different for the other person.
Are vibrators ruining women for penises?
They're not. It's sorry, penises. It's the vibrator's fault because you know that the pussy is just there for the penis. That's the whole purpose. No, because it doesn't change your anatomy. It's just changing the neural pathways in your brain. So you get off to this vibrator and your brain says, whoa, it took me only 2 minutes with this really powerful thing. And then the penis comes along and you're like, well, this is taking a lot more than 2 minutes. I just want my vibrator. So it's just the conditioning in here that we get stuck on. You know all about this, about how we get stuck in these loops and these patterns. And especially if it's from our first sexual experiences, right? If I had my first orgasm from a very powerful vibrator, that is setting a default for the standard of that which I am looking for or think that I need or I'm used to. You can unlearn that as we can unlearn and learn anything we want to. It just takes time and practice. Part of that would be don't use the vibrator for a while. Start using your hands or only penises or non-vibrating objects and things that are body-friendly and safe, because not everything is. And then you train yourself. And it takes practice. But that's sex. Is good sex, great sex, connected sex. It's a practice. It's a meditation. It's a single point of focus on that one thing. Is it the touch? Is it the sensations in your body? Is it the moaning of your partner? Is it the temperature in the room? Is it the smells? But if you're here in all of that, but you're thinking about what you're going to have for breakfast tomorrow, or what do I look like and what do I smell like? And am I sweating too much? And do they even like me? And what are they thinking? And are they going to fuck me again tomorrow? I don't know. You're not here. It's not great connected sex. It's not a meditation. It's just fucking.
Seems like meditation is really beneficial for sex.
It's what we call a precursor. It's like something or prerequisite, right? Are you writing that down or something?
I like that. No, I'm going to turn the heater on.
Like, I'm going to write this on my whiteboard.
We're having a conversation about sex. I want to heat it up.
You just went from the idea of having the door open to keep it cold to now let's crank it up.
I just noticed there were sounds coming in and such.
Are you trying to get me to take
it's not my
pants
purpose.
off?
Yeah, that's my move. It's getting a little hot.
Less is more, everyone. That's when I teach people about sexual pleasure and they're like, how do I have better orgasms? Or how do I connect to my desire? I ask, that's one of the beginning questions. Do you meditate? And most of them will say no, or I have, and it's so hard, and I hate it, and I can't sit still. And I tell them that's picking up some sort of meditation practice. And there's, this too, right? There's so many things available, and it can be per mood. Maybe one day sitting isn't my thing, so I need to do a walking meditation or a dance meditation or a shaking meditation.
Yeah.
But once they start to cultivate that practice, it trains the system more on how to have that single point of focus and be less busy.
Yeah.
And this is spoken also, I can tell you, I'm a pretty heady person. Like, I'm talking really fast right now. You can tell I'm just,
That's why I turned the heat on.
Yeah, that's for me to slow down.
No, not
You're
for
trying
you.
to manipulate me.
Well, we're always manipulating each other.
That's true.
Hot tea does the same thing too. It makes us feel warmer.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's like studies around that where people, if you give people a
Soothing.
hot beverage, yeah, and then they say like the one specific, I think it was like job interviews, and they gave people like ice water, and then they gave people hot tea and coffee and warm stuff, and then they had the subjects in the study. They said like, okay, what do you think about that person? And when they have a hot beverage in their hand, they're like, oh, I think he's just so like warm
He's
and
so
homey.
wonderful.
And,
Yeah.
But if you give an ice beverage, like she was a frigid bitch.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So yeah, that's good that you picked that up. You're very observant.
Yeah.
So I was literally was my kind of sort of subconscious conscious intention of heating the room, and
Let's slow it down.
and we do hot tea and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing for me as an educator, and I also work with clients privately, coaching, and have the podcast. So I'm using my voice constantly, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. And I really, last year, I was like, wow, maybe the year before, it's like I really perfected my art in my offering with people, except for the fact that I talk too fast. That's my one piece. I mean, there's probably other parts, but there is a part of me that I still have to work really hard to slow down, and that's does show up in sex at times too, and where I need to really work. Which I mean, I'm a human. That's as we all are. But so I identify with all the folks that have a hard time slowing down and getting in their bodies. Because for me, it's a constant practice.
Yeah. I mean, we're literally always tuning each other's nervous system, which is a really interesting
like,
thing.
Am I vibrating it with you? I don't know.
Totally, yeah.
You can feel when you're not
That's
too.
real
Like
talk.
we're vibrating at completely different levels.
Oh yeah.
This guy's weird.
Yeah, exactly. And it could have just been that you couldn't figure like the music that person creates could be perfectly relevant in like Morocco or something like that, but it doesn't attune well with you for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, so but it's interesting with like, and that might be like a strange analogy that nobody understood, but, there's another study in relation to our tone and the way that we communicate to each other. Most of us, we actually communicate to each other via body language and then via tonality is the next one. There's a guy called Albert Moravian. I promise I won't just talk about those the whole time. But a guy called Albert Moravian, Harvard study back in the 60s, and it's called the 55-38-7 rule. So 55% of our communication is body language, and then 38% is tonality, and then 7% is actual words that we speak. And so that's in relation to if there's conflict. You know, so if I say something to you, but my tone starts to kind of shift, or I start talking really fast, you know, or I mean, you can hear when someone is, you know,
Nervous,
you can read nervous, scared, uncomfortable, lying, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like the words that they say, you just don't give a shit. You 7% give a shit. And then the other whopping 93% is like, okay, what am I actually reading from this person?
So are you throwing, is body language the same as just the energy that you're showing up with? It's just, because to me, I wouldn't call myself an empath, and yet I can really I believe I can really feel people. I can feel if we are vibrating at the same level, and that to me is there's this communication going on there that has nothing to do with, or that I don't think has much to do with the movement of my body per se. You know, I can feel that just sitting with someone and our eyes are just connecting. We're not moving, but maybe there's body language in there that you're speaking to as well. So
much, yeah, for sure. We're always mirroring each other.
Yeah,
you know. So right now, like you'll notice, we'll start to, and as you talk about this stuff, it makes it weird. But you'll notice throughout this conversation, we'll start to change positions. Now we're both in like a sukhasana. We're all like upright and starting, and you know, and like right now is like rapport building. You know, or like, so you'll generally start off mirroring each other if you're an effective communicator, because people trust themselves. They trust their own tribe. Yeah. If someone's too different from themselves, then it's like, ooh, stranger, keep out.
Stranger danger.
Yeah. You know, so if you want to sell somebody a car or whatever, a sex lubricant or something, you want the person to be like, oh, like I really get Amy. Like I like understand her. I don't know what it is, but I like, she was like my cousin, like in my family.
Yeah. She got me. I don't even know why.
She just totally got me.
Yeah, I felt so safe.
Yeah, same thing. Like people love their favorite word in the world is their own name. So if you can say Amy and you can look like Amy, and all of a sudden Amy's like, I think I like that person. I don't know what it is.
There's something about going like tangent from that, but using the name piece. That there was this person that I dated who all they had to do was take their hand on my wrist, look me in the eyes, and say, Amy. And it was the hottest thing, quite possibly hotter than, pulling at the back of my hair or rubbing your fingernails. There's something, the name, that the invite in, and there's the body contact, but there's also the grip and the eye contact. And then it's just like Amy, and there's a part of me, it's like, like, I think it kind of speaks to that a little bit. Like he gets me, and there's also a like dominance piece there too. But the name was just
it's like to me, it feels like you're being supported and held as a woman,
and then maybe like swept away, dragged off into the
like
bedroom.
wow, he's strong, he's stable. There's probably so much like millions of bits of information that you're gathering just from the way that he holds your arm. You know, and then the tonality of his voice as he says Amy.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many different factors in that, and you can break it down. It's just like, okay, let's get the book out, and you're just okay. So say name, grab arm, perfect. Like that's not gonna work.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can't really study that piece.
But so that person that got you all hot and bothered from that little gesture, they probably have a pretty strong background of empathy. You know, and being able to attune to that moment, and probably like integrity and all those like buzzwords that we were talking about that we find annoying.
Transparency and
transparency.
Authenticity. I'm hanging on my biomat right now.
You are. Your left knee is getting spiritually stimulated by the amethyst crystals.
So spiritual.
We're sitting on a biomat. I'm not. I'm actually off.
If I put my yoni on there, will my yoni become spiritual?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is actually specifically geared towards yonis.
Enlightened pussy. That's why I came over here to enlighten my pussy.
Good, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's that's if we can start to pay attention to those little things, and then you also have to let it go. Like there's an interest. What was it? You start off unconsciously incompetent, and that's like the worst place to be. That's where most of us are in a lot of ways. So you're unconscious of your incompetence with a thing. And then eventually you start having conversations like this in this specific subject, and then you start to become consciously incompetent. And you're like, oh, fuck, I've been talking too fast. And like, God, well, now I see it.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can move into, okay, now I'm starting to become consciously competent because I'm practicing and cultivating my skills. And then eventually you become the guy that's grabbing your arm and says, Amy. And he's like, oh, he's like probably unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get through that arc where eventually there's just this fluidity of the way that you do whatever that your craft is, just being yourself could be your craft. Then that's where the money's at. Well,
the first step is the awareness and having some sort of ability to be an observer of your process of that's like the initial step there, which has been so powerful for me to watch all of the ways in which I have been so unaware of myself. And the minute I become aware, it just opens up the door. It doesn't mean that it just changes overnight, but now I'm an observer and have more ability to make different choices and to learn more and to try things that I normally wouldn't. It helps me to step outside of my patterning, which applies very much so to sex, because people, especially those first sexual experiences, we develop this foundation of the way we will be. You know, our first masturbation practices, you know, you're 12 years old and mom and dad's going to walk in the room, so you got to diddle yourself as hard as possible, hard and fast.
I like that, diddle yourself.
Diddle, yeah, you got to diddle. Yeah, just go diddling away.
Diddling.
You got to get it done in 60 seconds because it can walk in at any minute. And then when you have your orgasm, you can't make a loud sound. And, you know, you had a good time, but as you got older, you notice it's really scary or challenging to make sound when you have orgasms. And you notice that you tend to like harder, faster sex or stimulation, whether it's with other partners or with yourself. And that set that default, but a lot of people aren't aware. You know, they don't have the ability to witness that part of themselves. And then we're dealing with the issue of, this is just how I am. You know, we still live so much in this culture and this world that doesn't like to question the way they are, especially around sexuality. It's like the scariest thing, especially men. I mean, women too, but a lot of the men that I work with, because it threatens their whole identity. your masculinity. We're men. We're supposed to know how to fuck and how to
Totally.
please a woman. And
Yeah, if you ask the question, it immediately denotes that you don't know the answer, which
Yeah.
means you're less of a man.
Yeah, and that's well, how much that's so pressuring. Do you feel that? I mean, how
I
does
feel it which?
how does that how is it for you to admit that you don't know the answer, or if it were to, I guess, to come down to sex, to admit that you have room to grow, learn, and be better?
It's a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more confident that I become with something like anything, sexuality in this case, the more open I am to asking questions. There's like an arc there too, I think.
Yeah.
When you really don't know anything, you'll put this front up, like, okay, fuck, I don't want people to know how little I absolutely know. As you start to progress with that, we're like, okay, I have like a toolbox.
Yeah.
How do I sharpen these tools? Not to say that I do or do not have any degree of whatever toolbox with anything, but I've noticed myself throughout the years becoming more confident with just acknowledging how little I actually know.
Yeah. And it doesn't threaten your whole identity.
I mean,
You don't crumble.
no, I like it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like being in those instances. Like vulnerability is something that's probably one of my biggest like obstacles, which isn't the best language for it, but like, yeah.
Is it scary? Showing your vulnerability, expressing it,
Getting a lot better
receiving
with it. But yeah, it's like, so I was really obsessed with like rock climbing and like extreme-ish type things, to kind of like express that I'm masculine and courageous and all those things. And I think along with that, part of that was kind of filling in a deficit of actually being able to show up in maybe like one of the more courageous ways is just like being totally vulnerable with another person, telling somebody like, well, I think I have feelings for you.
Yeah, I feel
like,
things.
what? Yeah, what is like, oh, cool. What is that? And you potentially, you're like putting yourself up on the chopping block. I'm learning how to be, and now to me, that feels actually like the base jump, or that feels like and it starts to become like an addictive thing. Like, oh, I'm in this situation again where I'm uncomfortable, and it feels like I'm skiing down a hill real fast, So as opposed to actually feeling like I just need to do those adrenaline sports, there's all these other little micro adrenaline experiences you can get. I think one of the biggest ones is just like showing up in a vulnerable way with somebody.
Well, you used to mention the chopping block, and like, what is that chopping block? When you express vulnerability, now you're on the chopping block. What happens up there?
Well, they can like abandon you.
Okay, so I showed you my heart, and then you leave, and now I'm even more pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's risky.
It's risky. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you have some degree of like a seed of abandonment in there, then, which I think probably a lot of us do and maybe don't even realize it. You think it's most?
I think most people have some. I mean, when you think of a child in the crib, every child had a moment when they were not taken care of. It's impossible for every kid to constantly be taken care of when they needed it. Every kid had some moment when they were crying and no one showed up for them, and they felt. And to them, they are not going to call it abandoned. They're two, but it brings up this feeling of whatever they can work with in that moment. So I think that some people have major abandonment stuff. I think to a certain degree, everyone has a little bit of something. I think it's just a part of being a human.
How does one start to whisper into that stuff? Yeah.
There's so many different parts of it, but one is. I do a lot of work around attachment stuff, so attachment wounding and knowing what your attachment style is, and you probably have heard all about this. Anxious. What's that?
That's
Anxious,
a different one.
avoidant.
Yeah, right.
Secure. And to know the degree of that. What happens when you get in an argument with a lover or partner or someone? Do you want to stay, or do you want to run, or do you want to grasp? And if you're anxious, you're grasping. You're like, please don't leave me, which is related to abandonment. It's if I grab you and you won't leave me because I'm kind of holding you down. But what that does is it's overwhelming for the person being grasped, right? Or we're in some hard place and we're in an argument and I have a desire to run. I want to shut down, run, get out of here, or I get really flooded easily. And that's also related to abandonment. It's safer for me to get out of here so you can't hurt me further. And then there's secure folks who can kind of hang out there. All right, this is really hard. This is uncomfortable. I might want to run or grasp. I'm going to stay right here. And most people kind of fluctuate through them, but I think they say statistically that 50% of the population would be secure. Now, if you're a single person in your 30s, you're like, where are all the secure folks at? They're in relationships because they're secure. And I'm someone I would identify as secure with anxious tendencies when in relationship to an avoidant person.
I wonder if you could affect that through tone and pacing of language and stuff.
There's it's all completely related. All of it is just, it's every little minute aspect of the way that we show up and communicate can trigger these little things. And I also listened to a podcast where you said you didn't like the word trigger, which I
get
love
triggered.
that you
I
said
get
that.
triggered by the word trigger.
Do you get triggered by the word? This is just another tangent, but do you get triggered by the word trigger because you think people are a little too trigger happy and they abuse it?
Yeah, I have red flags for almost any progressive new age speak.
Okay. So it's just that it's progressive new age, and it's when it becomes.
It's because I live in. We talked. Both of us live in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Where it's like the new age mecca of all things, like fairy dust, and so now I have like PTSD from all that.
Aww. You need to go do some medicine therapy for your PTSD. So. Well, I don't. So triggering for me, because my understanding of trigger is that there's a response in your body that you really don't have a lot of control over. You know, I'm shutting down, I'm profusely sweating, my heart is racing, I feel nauseous. It's a trauma response. Yeah. And people will say that when they're irritated. Like, I'm so triggered by that bright light over there right now. I'm like, you're not fucking triggered. You're irritated, which you have control over. We can control irritation, annoyance, but people just abuse it because they want the world is supposed to take care of their triggers. And yes, triggers are real when people leave their bodies because you're disassociating because something reminded you of something fucking terrifying. But yeah, so I like to use the word more, which let me throw this at you, see how it lands.
Yeah, I'm trying to receive this.
Activated.
Oh wow.
Did you get it? PTSD?
Reminds me of charcoal.
Are you triggered right now? Yeah. You're not triggered.
No, I'm not too triggered by that.
Okay, good.
Oh, it's fine.
Well, inside,
I'm not even triggered by the word triggered either. I use the word triggered all the time. I just mock myself every time I use it. It's a great word.
You're one of those people
who's
using
a lot of sense.
You get triggered by the light, don't you?
Yeah. I noticed. I was in a class. You might have heard this, but I was in a yoga class one time, and the yoga teacher used the word trigger in a way that I really liked. She said never waste a trigger. Which I thought was really cool.
What was she referencing?
When you notice those moments where you are, just like a really like benign example would be like someone cuts you off in traffic and you like, blah, like middle finger, like, ah. It's like, dude, like maybe they were pregnant and they were like trying, or maybe that, there's all sorts of different, like why did that spark you up so much? So now you get to look in, that's, you get to actually perceive, that's like a filter. You can examine a filter. And how can I start to maybe shift that filter so that it doesn't actually like give me this surge of cortisol and all the stuff? So when you have those moments, you can step back and look at it as opposed to just like, blah, and then.
Yeah, it's like the flag waving that says there's something here to look at or work on. Yeah. Instead of like, there's something wrong with me, I need to get rid of it, I'm broken.
Yeah. Most likely this has nothing to do with the fact that the person cut you off.
Yeah.
Most likely there's like
mommy dad issues.
There's other stuff here. Or when you just get uncomfortable with a person for whatever the reason is. You're just like, wow, I want to like run the fuck out of the room right now.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, interesting. Okay, well maybe there's a legitimate reason. Maybe there's like they want to like kill me or something, but probably not.
Yeah. There's probably something inside of me.
There's probably something else there.
Yeah, there's some work I need to do.
Do you notice any of those with yourself?
With other people,
is
and
there
how
any consistent like triggers to overuse that word?
I would call it triggers. I have this thing that I just recently in Hawaii, when I was just in Hawaii in Maui, I was on this beautiful kind of hippie commune land.
Of course.
And gorgeous land. These people like live off the land. Like all their food is just from the earth. It has its own water source. It has its own beach. It's just, they walk around naked. It's just like, Mecca. I feel so challenged by that place. It's not the land. It's so I will say I get activated. I don't get triggered because I'm not leaving my body. My heart doesn't start racing. I'm not freaking the fuck out. What's happening to me there is it's bringing up my stuff about not belonging.
Oh yeah.
It's the way that people relate, and because when I come there, I'm just another person coming there. They're not like, Amy, hi, we're so happy here. They're tending to the land. All they want to do is work on the land and play music, and it's a really beautiful way of being. But I realized through that it brings up a lot for me of like, do I fit in here? Do they like me? What's going on? So just this activated state of just questioning myself, and then seeing that opportunity to say, oh, okay, there's something to look at. Here's a way that I get in my own way, and if I was unconscious about it, I'd be saying, it's them. They don't like people. They have bad social skills. Right. Actually, no. It brings up something in me where if people aren't going out of their way to approach me, or if my jokes aren't landing, I'm a very playful person. That's how I feel safest with people, is when they're silly and playful, and there's laughter and lightness. And it doesn't need to be that all the time, but when I'm going to say the word sacred, trigger. When even the profane is sacred, right? We can just be like, I just want to let loose and be ridiculous, and instead of going into that like everything is love, and I'm just like, oh God, give me a break. And I love some of that too, but there's this part. So I saw, okay, yeah, this is why I am not feeling like I fit in, because they're not really resonating with the way that I communicate, or the way I speak, and that's okay. We're vibrating at different levels, and that's not on them, and a lot of it is on me, because it's my interpretation of all of it and work that I haven't done on my ability to fully feel loved in my own skin everywhere I go, which I don't know if I'll ever get there.
Do you have a sense of where that comes from?
Childhood, of course. Not exactly that. I've always been that person. Well, I don't know how related that is. I've always been that. I'm very social. I have a lot of friends. I'm kind of like the centerpiece connector for a lot of folks. I'm a caregiver, caretaker. Overwhelm myself with going outward, but part of that is genuine, because I love taking care of people and it feels good, and part of it is also because I don't want to lose the love. Yeah. So if I give you all the love, and here's all the love from me, it reminds my system that I in turn will usually get loved back. So there's a defense mechanism there, or a mask that, and I watch it when it comes in. I'm like, this is coming from authentic. I would say it, authenticity, an authentic place of, it just feels fucking good to take care of people right now. Like, look at how happy they are, or loved, or it feels good. And then I can see also when I'm doing it from a place of obligation, so I don't lose the love too. So I think it's all just kind of related in there.
How can a man show up in such a way to make you feel secure?
Well, first of all, it's not his job; it's my job to do that. And
by you, I mean like just in general, like men in the world with women. So
you're talking about as a partner, or how men can be allies of women in general, or what is there?
As a partner.
As a partner. Again, the answer is going to be really dynamic, but vulnerability. If he's showing up with a mask on and not sharing his truth. Oh, did it again.
You can use all these words.
I know, I just like that.
It's certain people that I'm like,
get it?
Ugh.
Truth gets me, though. People are like, I'm in my truth. I'm like, spiritual bypass. But when you can feel that, because you can feel, I feel it. This is an energy thing, right? Like a sense of safety when I can really see him. Whereas if he's pretending like everything's okay, and I can totally tell that there's something else there, or he's not showing aspects of his heart, his fears. I know that you have fear in there, but you're not talking about your fear. All those aspects of that come with vulnerability, that we don't want to share because we don't want to be seen as weak. I feel safer and supported and secure when he shows up and doesn't have to lay it all on the table. Like I meet him and 5 minutes later, he's like, "Here's all my problems." Yeah. But that he isn't afraid to reveal them at the right times. I think that's really big and hard. And that's been hard for me at times. I'm not going to say that I've mastered the art of sharing all of my vulnerability as a woman who's had the conditioning from my father of there is such thing as too much emotion, and especially with the masculine. And, having experiences as a kid of crying and him laughing in my face for crying. And so I've had to do my own journey. So I totally get it. So, yeah.
What was the circumstance with that? We don't need to go like
the story.
Yeah.
It was. I forgot exactly what it was, and it might be my early teens when this happened. But there was some sort of argument, and I just when we were talking, I started crying, and I think I was trying to share how hard whatever this conversation was for me, and he just kind of laughed with this tone and this energy of, you shouldn't feel that way. And that's my interpretation, but I don't think he actually said that. But to him, it was kind of like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. that thing, which tells my system, okay, yeah, I can't show this stuff here. It's not safe. It's not welcome. And in fact, it's probably wrong, which I know better now, but it'll still come up, especially with the masculine at times.
I find it really helpful to acknowledge that your parents and just everybody, they're just people going through their own shit.
Oh, yeah.
And so anytime it's like hurt people kind of thing.
Uh-huh. I say that a lot.
Yeah, and so being able to step back and see that, as opposed to it being like he was doing this to me, not in your situation per se, but just in a situation, they were doing this to me. It's like just acknowledging that that's coming from their timeline of some trauma, and then all of a sudden, it's not about you, and then all of a sudden that feeling of abandonment or fill in the blank thing not being felt can turn into like more of a thing of compassion, of like, oh fuck, that must
be hard.
Really
being
sucked being him.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Forget about me.
Totally, yeah.
That must have sucked.
Well, and I like to create space for all of it too, because in that moment now as I do learn more, and I'm doing various trainings in the psychology field, and I'm doing a training called Hakomi, which is a really wonderful. Have you ever heard of Hakomi?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Holistic psychotherapy practice uses mindfulness and loving presence, and the more I learn about that, the more I can see people as just hurt little kids having big adult tantrums.
Look at Trump.
Oh my God, the biggest,
it's crazy.
Oh jeez,
Nothing for or against or whatever, but he's like a big screaming child.
Yeah, big screaming child.
Whether you like him or not, like that's like if you don't see that, like come on.
Yeah. And people actually do little like art sketches of that,
parodies of him being like this big screaming baby. But
and then look at all that he has to be insecure about.
Yeah.
Have you seen his goddamn hair flap?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he hides it.
He
does all that work to hide it.
We all know.
Yeah.
Like, you're not getting that one by us, just so you know. We've known for a long time.
So when you look at those physical outcroppings of a deeper insecurity, like the hair crop is a beautiful example of it.
Yeah.
You could look at it as just as simple as like, oh, well, he's just got shitty hair. No, what? It's like, well, he is what he is. He would have the option to just be like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
That would be a way more vulnerable, honest way to show up.
Yeah.
But instead you go to all this work to cover it. And now you have people whispering and making parodies and cartoons and all that stuff about you. And so that's just like a really interesting micro example of like hair crop thing into whatever the stuff below that is, into this now outcropping of us talking about it here.
Yeah.
In random, house in Santa Monica.
Yeah. We love you, Trump. I think
he's probably hurting more than anybody.
Yeah, I think it was, I heard Chris Ryan say, I don't remember if it was on a podcast or in person. Maybe he said this to me in person. I think he said, he's like, no, it's maybe the podcast, that, I really don't think anyone truly loves him and that he knows it. Like genuinely loves his heart, and that he actually knows that that's true.
But if you're blocked from allowing that, then no one would ever have the option to.
Yeah, they can't.
Like if the door's closed, people can be lining up out front, but they're not going to actually get through.
Well,
so it comes down to the individual to figure out, like, how the fuck do I open the door?
Yeah. If you, and that takes...
And then I would have discretion about who I let in the door.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It takes a very aware being. I don't think he's ever going to do it. But there's, this is the difference between the folks who believe this is just how I am, and I'm going to fight everything against everything else because I'm so prideful and stuck, and especially if they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they lived their entire life with that story, it's pretty depressing to all of a sudden realize that your whole life has been a lie. So they're probably never going to do it. The chances are that they would, to finally say, oh yeah, there's some stuff in here to work on, and I could live a much more loving, joyful life if I actually face my mommy issues and my daddy issues in the way that they didn't show up for me, because chances are that's what it is. I don't know anything about Trump's parents, but I'm pretty sure they weren't very loving. So, I'd like to study that, maybe know what's about that. But in my dad's case, that's very much, it's mommy issues. Like I can see the writing on the wall that it's very clear. So I'm able to see him as that. But one thing I did want to say, as you said, the compassion piece. So I can see my dad, he laughing in my face when I'm a kid crying. And I can still now as an adult finally find compassion and see him in that light. So I want to create spaciousness for that. But I also want to create spaciousness for my anger too.
Sure.
Right. And I think a lot of folks believe there's one or the other. If I'm compassionate and loving and I see him as the hurt child, then there's no room for anger. I've let go of my anger. And that, I think, can be really harmful, because then we're stuffing something that might be there for us. We don't want to create anger if it's not there. But So for me, I'm letting all be here. Like I see he's a hurt person hurting people, and I'm fucking angry about it too. And, and I'm hurt and I'm sad. And I'm having current day issues now as well. And he's also starting to lose his memory. It's all this. So daddy issues over here.
How does one explore anger?
The healthy ways. I don't know, healthy is kind of a limiting word, but
whatever.
What are the many ways? Yeah, we can do it. Yeah.
Let's burn some stuff.
Yeah, let's go. Well, and I think that can be healthy. I think the unhealthy way is to bottle it up, pretend like it's not there, shaming yourself out of anger, especially women are doing this. That they're, women aren't supposed to be the angry, hysterical one, especially if we're in the conscious world, right? I'm a conscious being.
Right.
I can't be angry, peace and love, everyone. Fuck that. That is not true. So the first step is to feel it. Some people have big blocks to be able to feel it, to even know, what does anger feel like in my body? What are the physical symptoms? What happens? Does my heart start to race? Do I get really, really hot? The somatic stuff there. And then to create whatever outlets to channel that. It's not punching someone in the face. I'm not going to put that unless it's consensual, but I'm going to put that in the category probably not the best choice. But to me, it seems like a somatic process. And something needs to move energetically. It's usually not just meditating the anger out of you. It's like maybe letting yourself move around the room like a wild animal, and you're stomping and shaking and pounding things, or, people breaking things, literally actually breaking things. For me, I did this thing in Hakomi, actually.
Can you break down what Hakomi is?
Hakomi, yeah. So Hakomi is holistic psychotherapy practice and training. And to me, as someone who works in this field, I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm a rebel who went to school for psychology and human sexuality, but refuses to spend 10 years in one institution and likes to do all the little individual trainings that really speak to me.
Hakomi's not Peter Levine.
No, Hakomi
Hakomi
is, oh my gosh, Ron Kurtz.
Ron Kurtz.
Yeah, who's no longer alive. I think it's Ron. Yeah, Ron. Yeah, Ron Kurtz. And
Ronnie.
Ronnie. Ronnie boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is a holistic psychotherapy practice that is all about what's happening right now.
Yeah.
They don't go deep into story, which is what most cognitive psychotherapy is. If you go to school to go become a therapist, oftentimes they're doing talk therapy. And we're finding, as you probably have had guests speak on here, or maybe if you've been to therapy before, that just talking about your problems doesn't necessarily fix your problems. It can alleviate some of the weight on your shoulder, and you're not feeling like, I have to carry all this. But you still have the guck in your body. And so what Hakomi does is you get a little bit of conversation. Oh, hey, how are you feeling today, Erin? What's going on? What's present for you? And you're like, oh, this crazy lady Amy came over. She wouldn't take her pants off. It's really frustrating.
I was super I got it real hot in there.
I tried to turn the heat up and made her some tea. She was talking really fast.
My freezer door. Yeah. She shut it down.
She wouldn't crawl in my freezer.
Everything.
And I'm
tricks.
just, and like, oh, it's done. And so what you would do is you would contact that. You say, oh, it sounds really challenging, huh? And or whatever. Really, there's a lot of anger in there, huh? Whatever is present. And if you're wrong, if it's not anger, then you would say, and I can't teach Hakomi, by the way. I'm just giving you a general idea of what I know because I'm still in the training. Oh. But if you're wrong, it's perfectly fine because it'll bring up something else for them. And if you're right, that's what they're really feeling, then you just go deeper into that. And you have to do it in the container of mindfulness. If they're not in their body and they're not present, so meditation can be a part of it, various practices to get them here. But the idea is that if they're here, present, they feel safe with you and you're in this bubble and you work with whatever is here in this moment, in this feeling place, you go through layer, and all of a sudden, quite often, they're like crying as a 5-year-old and pulling up some old stuff that they never knew was there, but they're able to get the missing experience that they never got during the old wound. It's the most beautiful practice. And I have not mastered it. I just finished year 1, do year 2, and continue to do that work. But to me, in the therapy world, that or medicine therapy with taking specific medicines, MDMA, psilocybin with therapists, or EMDR, kind of like the creme de la creme of therapy.
Which have you found the most impactful for your own?
Hakomi. And medicine.
Right.
But medicine work, I've done a lot of medicine work, but I've only done one session with a therapist. MDMA does not work in my body. I took too much in 2010, so I don't know what that did, but it's not there's nothing good there for me anymore that I can tell unless I just have a big mental block. But
You gotta do some Hakomi about your MDMA.
I know. I think it maybe I do. I'm really angry about it. I am. I get disappointed. I did a guided therapy session with someone and just felt all the creepy, crawly, EBGB things and was not able to feel any of the heart. Still had some really good stuff that came out of it because the therapist was great. But
how much did you do? Do you remember?
I don't even remember what I did. I think it was 90 milligrams is what's coming to mind. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It used to work on me back in the day, but
and it was like a professional thing.
Yeah.
Did you pay him?
I did. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
That's
still
great
had
that
some
that
really
exists.
good stuff coming out of it, but I could have had that stuff without the medicine. It wasn't medicine for me, right? Because it gave me these other things that they were so distracting. My jaw was like, I can't. It's hard to be here.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of the medicine work. The medicine work to me that I do as my practice, my personal practice, helps to show me the work. And the therapist that I work with separately has nothing to do with the medicine work. Is what actually gets me to move forward.
Right.
If I just rely on the medicine to show me, I might just because all I have is my brain. You know what I already can only access. So I would just continue to make those choices. But I need my mirror, my guide, my Hakomi. I have an amazing Hakomi therapist. I'm pretty sure she's not even human. I think she's an angel or something or an alien. But she guides me. Do you do therapy at all, or have you?
I need to.
You need to. Why do you need to?
Because
Everyone
I think we all need to.
Yeah. You've never experienced.
No, I've been to a couple. I don't think they were very good, but that was probably my own blocks.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
like, this guy's bullshit.
there's some
They're
not so good
looking at
therapists,
You're
though.
looking at a clipboard, bud.
Yeah, it's just.
What are you doing?
How does that make you
So
feel?
I ended up. I think I'd probably be like a difficult therapy patient, but I'd love to find somebody. But I ended up. This is probably my own like ego, or but I ended up feeling as though I was therapizing the person. Really, maybe I was getting like reverse therapized and didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need to find somebody that's like
A good Hakomi therapist,
dope.
when you're doing that and you're playing therapist, and because you're the one like, I don't know, and here's I know why I do this. These are they'd say, sounds like you got it all figured out, huh?
Exactly. No, exactly. As I'm saying that out loud, I realize that that's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at a clipboard while
Yeah.
you're talking to me about my feelings,
Yeah. Yeah. You're like,
Come on.
I can go write in a journal.
yeah,
I can talk on a
There's like-
podcast
there's
about my
apps.
feelings.
I
yeah.
can get an app.
I can talk to a friend. Yeah, I don't need this. Yeah, it's powerful work. We're still learning so much about it, but it's been a major game changer. And then of course bringing that into the sex and relationship world. Especially if people are partnered, and they've never done work around childhood wounding and everyone has it, you are in the playing field for all this shit to come up. And that's what relationships are. And a lot of people try to fight that, right? I don't know if you've ever experienced that. Like, relationships should be easy. Why are we, and then maybe we're not right for each other. Maybe you're not. Or maybe you also, one or both people just haven't done the work. But that work shows up everywhere. It'll show up in your loverships. It'll show up in your friendships. It'll show up with your family. Should you choose to do that work. It's very rewarding. It's exhausting, but it's really rewarding.
Are you in a relationship right now?
I am. I'm in a partnership of 5 years. We have broken up 2.5 times and done all the things. Did the monogamy, the open, the unethical polyamory, the cheating, all the fun things. Are currently coming out of a monogamous place into monogamish-ish, so figuring out what that looks like now.
Do you think polyamory is, or do you think there is? What do you think about all those things?
All the things, yeah. I think different strokes for different folks. It just depends on you. I think there's so many factors on how we're raised and the capacity we have to work with shared partnership and sharing of bodies. And we can, of course, learn anything. It's just also a willingness to learn. And I think that some people are just much more monogamous than open. I think some people are much more open than monogamous, and it just depends on you. I mean, at the end of the day, we make our own rules, but most of us are just stuck living someone else's rules. And so once we figure out what our rules are, the world is your oyster, and that applies to your relationship status. So I don't think there's not one way, and there's not one better way. I know people that are monogamous that shame themselves because they think that open is the superior way. I know people that are open that are highly judged for being open because monogamous people think, not all of them, but some of them think that's the superior way. And like all of you are wrong. All of you, there isn't one superior way.
Seems like looking at a relationship from more of like an is amorphous the right way? Like fluid, you know, being open to it changing. Like just because we were monogamous 6 months ago, it's okay if things change in 2 years or today
or tomorrow. Yeah, it could be completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get so set on it.
That takes a lot
way.
of pressure off of things. And it's just like, we're a team.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the beauty of relationship. One, it can be the playing field for working out. It's not where we're supposed to work out mommy and daddy stuff. It just happens to be where it shows up. And then if we think that our partner is supposed to heal that for us, then you got a big problem. Right. It's not their job to heal your mommy and daddy issues. But relationships are also this really beautiful place to create this I'm your rock, or we're a team, or whatever that is. And yeah, we might venture out and share experiences with others, but how beautiful is that if this is your dynamic, that you can come together in this really united way. In fact, sometimes it can really build up relationships in a beautiful way.
Are there any like sexual exercises that stand out for you to help people with their sexuality, like any kind of sexual practices that stand out for, I mean, it could be like muscular exercises or it could be like partner exercises or anything that you found helpful?
Yeah. Well, one I'll say is masturbate.
Oh, good.
You want to have better sex with your partner, have better sex with yourself first. Particularly, I mean, I love sex toys too, but with your own body, I think is really helpful to know what your body likes with your own hands or your own body's movement. Maybe you're not even using hands, or your own breath. So that's, I think, a really important thing. If you don't have a great relationship with your own body and your own sexuality through you, then it's going to be hard to do that, or especially if you're relying on someone else to do it for you. One thing I think I love for partnerships, because or loverships, whatever you're doing, we're so on this goal-oriented world of getting from point A to point B. Right. And you miss out on all the yummy things in between. Point A is arousal, point B is orgasm, and then C is nap time or snacks or whatever you do.
Call an Uber.
You call an Uber later. Yeah. I don't spend the night. Sorry. Only if I love you will I do that.
Yeah. And what do you think about spending the night with people? Not to divert, but I think that's an interesting, I promise we'll get back to the other thing, but sleeping beside somebody is, I've heard one sleep doctor person talking about it that I found his perspective interesting, where it's like we like eat separate bowls of food and we sit in separate chairs and we do all this stuff that it's like culturally normal to be like, yeah, we do that separate. Yeah. And then from his perspective, because, you know, I think certain people do better sleeping with people than others. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is kind of interesting. I've never really thought about that. Of like, yeah, that's interesting. It's just like the cultural norm that like you have to sleep with your person like snoring beside your face.
You have to, because that's
because if not, you don't love each other.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that. Yeah, I don't think that it's designed. All people are designed to spend every single night with their partner, or maybe any nights, and because there's so many things that come into play with sleep. Not everyone likes snuggling. Some people overheat. Some people just need their own space. Some people get highly anxious in the middle of the night. There's so many factors there, and yeah, that's the standard. But I will say, just as this like kind of tangenty, but also not. There's this great sex educator named Reid Mihalko who teaches all the ways to, if you want to be a single person and have casual sex and keep it casual, he says, don't spend the night. No slumber parties. Because that is a big thing. Something does happen energetically and chemically with two bodies next to each other overnight, the oxytocin and, you know, all that stuff, all the warm snugglies that happen there, that can just, if you're not looking for more attachment, it can either, one, create more attachment or create the idea that there is more attachment. So that's just in the single world. Dating protocol. In the relationship world, it's different for everyone. I personally, I'm a difficult sleeper with a lot of people, where it'll be hard for my body to calm down next to them. It just depends. But if we really just, I'm bringing my hands and wrapping them around each other, energetically, not physically. Like if I can energetically feel like safe, it's this really great fit. And they don't snore like all hell, then I love sleeping next to those people. Where, you know, those people where it just feels like your bodies are made for each other. You know that feeling? Mm-hmm. Had that feeling before? That is just like, I love that. But everyone's different. So I don't think there's anything wrong if you don't want to sleep next to someone. Don't sleep next to someone. They might need that, and that relationship might not work. But
I wonder if there's some like bacterial thing that happens when you sleep beside each other. Like you're like inoculating, like you're always breathing each other. Like right now we're kind of merging with each other in a sense because we've been breathing each other's bacteria the whole time since we've been in the room.
You have the best bacteria.
Oh, thanks. Yours is nice too.
Delicious.
Yeah, it's great. But you really are. Like I think it's, like you become the product of the 5 people you spend the most time around. It's like, I think you literally do. Like you literally are, you're merging with that person. You're breathing them in.
And we don't really put a lot of value on the things that happen in sleep. Like we spend like not half, well, it depends how much you sleep, but not half our lives, but a big chunk of our lives sleeping. And we're still here in this body. We might be out or in dreamland, but so you're still sharing that an experience with someone. But a lot of people think that you're not because I'm not awake for it. But there's a lot going on there, even if you're not awake for it.
I wonder if there's some entanglement that's happening from a neurological perspective as well when your brain and body is in that sleep state. If you're hooked up to another person. Yeah,
it's like you're hooking up little EKG things or whatever it is, working with together.
Yeah.
Have you ever had experiences sleeping next to someone where you had like matching dreams or anything that felt like there was some sort of shared experience there happening in a dream state?
Probably, not that I can remember.
Yeah, I think I have before. I can't remember examples of that. What about sleepgasms?
I don't have them.
You don't?
I think it's a myth.
Really?
Yeah, when people say they like jizzed while they're asleep, I'm like, really? That happens?
So you just never had it happen, but you also don't believe that it happens?
Yeah, I think it's like a leprechaun. That'd be great. If I could have orgasms while I slept, that'd be awesome. I'd be on board. I get some like plastic pants. I'm on board.
I have some of my best orgasms in my sleep. Oh my God. My sleepgasms are like some of my favorite orgasms that I have. I don't jizz. There's no like, I could wake up feeling pretty wet from it. Like, whoa, but because it's really happening, right?
Yeah.
I'm not touching myself in my sleep, by the way. It's my mind bringing me to that state. And what's interesting about sleepgasms, in my experience, is I probably have about 2 a month or so. And what happens for me is in my normal everyday life, if we were start being intimate and we were starting to touch, it would take my body and my mind and spirit a long time to get warmed up to go to this place of full surrender and arousal and orgasm. And it's a process. Like I'm not an easy case. I am a journey, and because I'm also very like energy is really important to so many factors.
Can you define energy?
What's that?
Can you define energy?
It's just the way we show up with our presence. Right. So it's the showing up of my presence and all the parts of me right here and how I'm showing up with that. And if I'm showing up here right now with my presence, but I'm also in my mind with all these other things that I'm thinking about, that really affects what's happening right here in this little melting pot between us. So it's the unseen that we and the seen, but there's the unseen part that we can just literally feel from all those things you're talking about, body language and all of that. So
cool.
Yeah, but but my sleep, I'll fall asleep. I've had the inception ones. What is it? Lucid dreaming, where I know I'm dreaming. And
then I'd be having wet dreams all the time.
Yeah, well, it's
pretty sure.
I don't. So I don't
everybody.
have those often, but I've had lucid dreams about sex, where in my dream I had an orgasm. It's and it happens so quickly. Normal everyday state could take me 20 minutes to an hour, depending on what we're doing. Sometimes it doesn't happen at all because I have so many other things I'm working with. In my sleep, because I'm de-armored, I don't have my whole shield of all the Amy-ness in my sleep. There's some of her there, but it's different. In my sleep, I could just have usually it's like a body. Sometimes it's someone I know, or sometimes just a body with a blurry face, and they just like take their finger and touch my ass, and I have like 5 orgasms. It's like orgasm, orgasm, orgasm. And then I've had those dreams where I knew I was dreaming. I could just I'm dreaming. Oh my God, I can have as many orgasms as I want. And I just keep on doing it, and I wake up very, very, very happy and very alive. So that's my experience. I haven't figured out how to. That's the one thing I want to master. Is like, how do I bring that into the real world? Right, that simplicity of being able to become aroused that quickly.
Yeah,
I can't do that here. I have tools, but it takes a lot longer here.
You haven't figured it out yet.
I have. Yes, exactly. Yes, I can. I just don't understand it yet. And that's. I'm like,
they have new age language.
It's correcting me. No, I like that. That's a helpful reminder that I have if I can do it in my sleep, I have the capacity to do it here.
Yeah.
I just don't know how yet, and nor do I have enough patience quite yet. I
The ass.
The ass
has I think it's only second to the clitoris with sensory receptors.
a lot of nerve endings.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think as they say, it has as many nerve endings as your lips, and it's like the anus itself has.
Yeah, they're pretty similar.
Yeah, it likes some touch. Yeah. How do you feel about ass stuff?
I think I'm getting better with it.
On which side? Which end? Whose ass?
Either or.
All asses.
Yeah.
What does it getting better mean?
Oh, just more comfortable, like embracing all that stuff. Just like loving every square inch of your body and not having any shame around any of your parts.
Yeah.
I think take a shower.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not too much to ask. That makes sense to me. So we are talking about the ass here, people. So yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
But yeah, I've had shame around my ass forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to figure that out. Where I was like, oh, it's actually pretty legit.
How are you figuring it out? Are you touching it, or having allowing other people to touch?
Other people. Yeah, get on in there,
Talk
buddy.
about vulnerability.
Jump on in.
Yeah. Dive on in.
Yeah.
You got some Uber lube here for you too?
Yeah, we got the Uber lube.
It's great for anal
We're
play.
ready to go.
Yeah. It's good, long lasting.
And gay men that bottoms, they end up having significantly less incidence of prostate cancer because they're getting it all ringed out.
Yeah, the prostate needs some love and attention.
Yeah.
I think embryologically it's the same tissue as the G-spot G area tissue.
Oh,
that which is I mean, it's all they're all the same parts, just put in different places. They get different functions. But yeah, the prostate I think is just like people.
I'm imagining like a Rubik's Cube or like a Mr. Potato Head or something.
Yeah, there you go. Just put them all.
Put my ass on my ear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, wow.
Get that back down there.
That's magical.
That's not that funny.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. I know. I like the Rubik's Cube thing of just like moving things around, and they're all just the same blocks.
We are kind of like that because we have different erogenous areas in different parts. Some people like really love the back of the knee, or whatever. And so I'm like, why are you touching the back of my knee?
But there's so many things that come into play there. There's nerve endings. Some people have more nerve endings in some places than others. Like if you look at a vulva, a vaginal canal, and there's studies that are looking at that some folks have a lot of nerve endings that connect to the cervix area, and some have a lot less. Some have a lot more nerve endings in the vaginal canal. I think we just recorded a podcast with Emily from Sex with Emily, and she was saying that if a female-bodied person's clitoris is actually the closer it is to the vaginal canal, the entrance, the more likely are they to have orgasms during sex, during penetrative sex. So it's all there's the anatomy part and the physiology, and then there's the stories that come with it. If I had some wonderful experience with someone that I was just so into, and they just happened to touch like the pit of my arm, that could become eroticized because of the story. It might not be a nerve ending thing, or it might be all of it, but it's just it's so dynamic. That's why I love working with sexuality, because it's complex shit. You have to look at all of it. You can't just look at like one little thing, like, oh, you have a pussy, you must like this kind of touch. Like, well,
I like that you become Persian when you talk about I sell you a carpet and touch your pussy. You will like.
Yeah, carpet, pussy. Yeah, that's funny. I don't even notice when I do
pun.
that. Yeah,
I had no idea. I did a pun.
You did a pun. You did a thing.
Finally,
you didn't even notice. I have a question for you though, because I've heard you talk about on past podcasts about your practices with ejaculatory control.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about that, specifically where you learned about this, why you choose to practice this, and what it does for you.
Oh man.
You don't have to answer them in that order.
Triple whammy. I think just reading like the books, like the Taoist books, so there's
like Multi-Orgasmic Man.
Yeah, that's that's like a staple. I feel like there should probably be like a pun in there somewhere. I don't know how to find it though. I get one pun per episode. But yeah, starting off with that, and then the big thing is just like not feeling tired. And so that's something that I've noticed around orgasm, around ejaculation specifically, where it's like afterwards you're like, oh God, I just want to, take a nap and kind of disengage from life, and then also disengage from my partner.
Yeah.
And so that's something. There's another book. What's his name? David Data.
Yeah.
Where he gets into
the Superior Man?
Way the Superior Man. Yeah. One of the things he said in there that I really liked was you'll have potentially like a subconscious resentment of your partner because they're like pulling energy from you. And I'm pretty sure I've noticed that. I don't know if it's exactly from that specifically, but there's something really magical about like maintaining the ember of sexual arousal. And you still can have a complete orgasm. Like there's really not too much of a difference between actually outwardly ejaculating and just having an orgasm, like an inward gasm or whatever they call it. So yeah, I've been on that train for like the last, I don't even know, maybe 4 years or something. And I mean, it's super simple too. People can play with it. It's like another thing before that, it's actually, you can build your orgasm up, which women are way more savvy with than men in general. For men, it's like A to B more. But if you can build yourself up to that point where you're getting close, and then start to use breath, and there's different things. You can contract your fists and contract your toes and kind of like pull energy away from your cock, essentially. Breath is like one of the biggest tools. Contracting your pubococcygeal muscles or like your P muscles, all that stuff will help to start to kind of pull energy out of like the head of your cock. And so using that, what you'll find is it ends up being, this is like probably a terrible analogy, but it ends up being almost like the real estate market. Like you'll slowly gain value of your home. So you just like, if you just flip the property, you're like, cool, sweet, I made 10 grand. But if you like hold on to that bitch.
Over time, you're like, okay, but it's still slow. It's slow. You got to be patient.
Like, damn, I made $1 million. And then they call it the $1 million point. That's
true.
Look what I did there. Look what I did there. So you could that's the like you hold the perineum essentially. There's like a diamond shaped area in between the anus and the shaft of your cock. And so as you're getting to that point where the prostate's starting to like, oh God, we're gonna come, you can hold that space. If you go too close to it, you missed it. It's gonna be like painful and awkward, and don't do that. But if you go, if coming is 10, if you're at like 9, anywhere 9 and below, then you can go in and actually you can either manually hold that space, and it kind of like creates like a vacuum, closes that down. And then the practices around like contracting those muscles, you can actually do that without using your hand. But the hand is it's a helpful tool, A, if you don't have those muscles developed, B, if you get too close. But so certain things that people can do is like, this is like standard one, is like as you're peeing, practice clenching those PC muscles and stopping the pee. So if you take a piss, do that like 5 times. Every time you do that, pull in your
tighten, release.
Yep, and your scrotum will come up. They call it testicle breathing, I think is the term for it.
Ball breathing.
Breathe it into
balls.
your nuts. Yeah. But what you're doing is you're starting to strengthen all those muscles, which is really great for also starting to cultivate more stability, support, integrity around the pelvic floor muscles. That's what you're doing. You're contracting your pelvic floor muscles. So that's the foundation for your viscera, your guts. I think it's like a really valuable tool. But the big thing for me is just like maintaining energy. And I mean that energy in like more of like anybody in New Jersey construction worker would get, like just like feeling peppy, and then also the resentment of the person for robbing you of your...
You stole my seed.
Yeah, totally. Like that's something that's really interesting. You notice with women usually after sex they're like, whoa, like, the guy's like, okay, good, yeah, great, that's good.
It's like polar opposites.
This is great. Yeah. I'd rather flip the tables. I'd rather both of us feel great. And like, cool, sweet, like let's, we can have sex again or whatever.
Yeah. Or go into the cold plunge in your freezer.
Go into the cold plunge. Yeah. Stir yourself up. It's helpful with boosting testosterone and all that stuff. Get your hormones back.
So here's the part about your energy. But are your orgasms stronger, better? Did that shift? Or longer?
Longer is the big thing for me.
Because you can kind of ride the wave longer.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you get to a point. One thing like sex is oftentimes it's kind of like once the P goes in the V, it's like this like grand finale for a lot of guys. For me, like for a good percentage of my 20s.
It's pretty exciting.
It's pretty exciting. And so if you can be more chill about that, and have it more like incorporate more sensuality into everything before sex and not have like this huge hockey stick curve of like, it's in.
Yeah.
Victory.
Yeah.
We've arrived.
Yeah.
You plant your flag.
Yeah.
And be able to be like actually just maintain that calmness. Same thing with the conversation. the P goes in the V, all of a sudden your word starts speeding up. You're like, woo!
Breathing really fast, out in the chest.
And so what I find, if you can make it through, one, starting off slow, I find really valuable. And just like being with that experience. And then from there, if you can make it through that first, like, I don't know, call it like 10 minutes or something like that. I have found, and one would find, that your endurance, if you want to use that term, ends up, it almost like exponentially gets greater. Like if you can make it through that initial gauntlet, then it's like, cool, we're good. We can do whatever we want.
Does it have the same with like running too? You
get into the get like the runner's high.
Like first like, oh, I hate this, and then you get in the flow. You kind of push through the barrier that would have been.
And then you'll find, if you can push through that and you can maintain that like runner's high, which that's, I mean, it's probably like the same state really, like that meditative kind of like primal place, whatever. But yeah, you'll find that the orgasm will the value, the felt sense of the orgasm will start to get greater as well. Yeah. You know, so if you just like bust a nut, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like it feels good, but it's like, I don't know. It just, it's like small potatoes in comparison. If you can actually cultivate that experience, it's like building a fire, I think. Yeah. And there's just some like out there meta analogies, but that's the way it feels.
I have had, heard men had partners say that they're just so not entertained by their orgasms. You know, they're like, I see your orgasms, they look way more exciting than mine. Because they get this little quarter of a second, 2 second euphoric experience, and then it's over, and you know, they can still maybe play a little bit, has limitations, and that's with the ejaculation, not just with orgasm. And you know, so that's, I think this is one of the tools is to start to have these practices to start to learn, either have control or separate ejaculation from orgasm, or start playing with the prostate. You want to enhance your orgasm, so you can combine prostate stimulation with.
That's really interesting too. It like redistributes energy away from the head of the cock.
Yeah, but it can also create that more full-bodied thing where I've talked to men where their experience of that was, if it was almost overwhelming, because it was like they were coming so much in one. They were ejaculating still in this session. But so much was coming out for such a long period of time that it was like also kind of terrifying for them. They were very exhausted after, of course.
Yeah, I bet.
But I was like, well, you wanted stronger orgasms.
In one ejaculate, apparently, I got this out at the multi-orgasmic male, I think. Apparently, there's around 500 million little sperms in there.
Yeah, but then it's only 1% sperm. The rest of it's just a bunch of fluids to make it a slip inside for the sperm.
Right.
So a mouthful of jizz is full of like 5 million or whatever that is. And it's just most of it is just like little amino acids and things.
And women that come in contact with jizz or semen.
Jizz.
It's fun to say those words.
I like it. I love
when
those
I have
words.
the opportunity to, I go for it.
Yeah. How often do you talk about jizz on a podcast?
Yeah. So when more often than not, probably for some.
Yeah.
But when women, there's like there's studies around this that come in contact with semen end up reporting feeling happier.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard this.
I have heard this. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. There's more sciencey terminology for what happiness means. Probably like dopamine, serotonin, whatever levels or something like that. Yeah. But I think it's actually more of like a well-being felt state. Mm-hmm. But there's some kind of cosmic chemistry there where there's like women coming in contact with that. I think there's probably some like evolutionary thing. Like they feel like they're like, cool, like I'm doing the thing.
Yeah, doing the thing.
We're procreating.
Yeah, we're procreating. It's actually, and it's even if I don't want babies, this body's still designed for that.
It's doing the thing.
It is. It's still trying. It's always trying to do that thing. Like, ain't going that direction, but it's still going to do the thing. One thing I teach people. So you're talking about like slowness in not just like, the P goes in the V and you just start going for it. Oh, it's so exciting. Yeah. One thing that I often say on our podcast and then with clients and when I teach workshops is I say, it's my little tagline, I say, go slower than slow and then go slower than whatever you thought slow was. So you're slowing down, but whatever you think your version of slow is, turn that down a couple notches. And it is and hard and fast and all that, it serves a time and place. But there's so much wonderful sensations in that slowness, and I think that in our culture, especially with the way, and I'm not anti-porn. I'm anti-porn as a sex educator, but with the way that we've been taught through porn is just fast and hard. It's oh my god, that's what we're taught. So people just don't know. They don't know what is there when we slow down. That there is more control. There is more sensations there. There is more connection. And for all kinds of reasons. And I can tell you when it comes to touching the pussies, they love them some slow for a long, long, long time. And there are moments they'll be like, I just want you to fuck me. And that's usually not in the first 5 seconds or minute, or usually not 5 minutes too. It's usually a longer period of time. And so one thing I tell my clients or the people I teach, if they want to learn how to please the vulva, please the pussy, I tell them, go get a professional massage, not a HJ, not happy ending massage. Professional massage.
I think we'd be a healthier society if there were more HJs professionally.
I'm not anti that. I'm saying go ahead and do that. But for this lesson, I say go get a regular professional massage, not your $25 foot massage in the spa, the foot massage spa. Like we're talking your $80 and up massage where they have you on the table. What's the first thing they do? They take their hands, they get them nice, frictiony and lubricated in whatever oil that they're using. So they don't put dry hands on your body. So don't put dry hands on the bits. The bits like moisture. It's a mucous membrane. That's what it likes, wet on wet. And you want to get them all warmed. And then they don't just start putting it on your body, rubbing all around and getting crazy. You're a body worker. You know this. What's the first thing that they do? They take their hands, say if they're going on your back, and they set them, and then they usually just let them rest there, right? They're not moving really. They're just like letting the skin on skin and the energy on energy acclimate to each other for however long that is. Is it 30 seconds? Is it a minute?
I think like walking into somebody's house.
Yeah.
You don't come in and just like open up their fridge.
Yeah. Well, I know people that do that.
Well, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. But yes,
but you
I
come
get it.
in and you kind of like, should I take my shoes off?
Yeah.
Should I what's like, you're figuring out the customs.
Yeah. You're not going to come in and start banging around. And so, banging, yep, said it.
Yep.
And then what they start to do, so they let the skin on skin acclimate, and then they start to kind of either rock back and forth. Again, they're just kind of waking it up, waking up your back and that connection there and starting to bring the blood flow there. But it's this gradual build. And the same thing goes for touching the pussy and penises like this too. A lot of them just don't know that they like it because they're used to fast and hard. It's like the shock value. It's so exciting. Just like the money shot. It's very exciting. But so there's a sex educator named Midori. She does a lot of rope bondage stuff, but she calls it the pussy hug. So your well lubricated hand. The first thing it does when it comes to touch the pussy, the vulva, the external anatomy, is it just kind of cups it and hugs it and doesn't even move and just hangs out there. And then when it starts to move, it kind of can do some rocking, like my hand's kind of rocking around in a very slow circular motion, or maybe just like some up and down, but as if it's a massage, and starting to warm up this part of the body, and you're really going super slow. And it will do similar things like what you got to teach yourself with your orgasmic process of you're slowly building this. You use a real estate analogy, but there you're right.
I don't think that's going to relate to a lot of people.
Let's go with the wave.
If you recently bought a house,
then,
for like the 3 people
or you're
listening,
a real estate agent. But it just builds them up, and then they feel safe and they can relax, and they're like, okay, you're not just trying to like poke and prod me. And then when you go into internal stimulation, you do the same thing all over again. You're moving into a new area. You hang out. You put fingers or a penis or whatever like this in everything. This is you don't have to do this all the time, but especially if you don't know this vulva. And the same thing goes for the ass too. Like you hang out for a while, let the bodies acclimate, let them know energetically that they're safe here, and I honor you, and I'm not going to push you beyond where you're at, and I hope that we're communicating. And then I can move a little faster over time, or just add a little more speed and a little more pressure, but you're just building it. It's an art, but it's not a heady art. It's an embodied art and again, you need to be present to be there to do that. Yeah. So go get a massage. You're a body worker. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I think it's figure it out. I still have like a lifetime of porn to unwind. I think. I know.
Oh my God, we all do. Yeah. It's entertainment. It's quick shock value.
Yeah.
I've had some great orgasms to it, and it's definitely messed with my mind in regards to what I think sex should be at times that I've had to do a lot of work to try to undo.
When is the time and place for like the jackrabbit hard and fast?
When the body is just like, I just want to fuck, but both bodies feel that. As having a female body, I can feel that in my body. There's just this energy in me. It's like, I just like want you to fuck the shit out of me, like that feeling. That's when you do the jackrabbit. And hopefully they communicate. But if the body's not there, it doesn't feel good. And some people can get there, some women get there every time. Some people can get there really quickly. But I think for most female body folks, it takes a lot for them to get there. But it's not to say it doesn't serve. I mean, because it can be wonderful when you're there.
Yeah.
But you just have to fully be there.
And you can feel the vulva or the vagina, the clit specifically start to engorge, become tumescent is a fancier term for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a really valuable indicator to determine like when is it appropriate to enter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's better. It's a better indicator than moisture because wetness happens for so many different reasons. It can be based, you can be antihistamines and you don't get a lot of vaginal fluid. And, so yeah, engorge because it's all erectile tissue. So when you see the vulva or the pussy, all of that getting engorged, it means that shows that they're
is the vagina engorged or is it just the clit or is the whole thing?
All of it. I think all of it
clit
is erectile
all the way around.
Yes.
It looks like
the
a
wishbone.
big like mustache or something, like a sea alien creature.
Yeah, it's a little wishbone for him. Like yeah, it's funny when I did my I went to school, minored in human sexuality at San Francisco State, and then did a whole training to be a certified sex educator. During that time, that was all 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, around there. No, it's 2000. Yeah. Anyways, it was. I think up until 2008, they did not know about the wishbone that the clit was that big. Then.
Yeah, so it's a little pee.
They were just a little nub, that little thing. And so I wasn't taught that then. It wasn't when I was learning those things. It was later on. I think they first discovered that and really publicized that. I think it was like 2010. And I think who told me that? I think it was Wednesday Martin who told me that. And now we know that. It's just that you can't see all of that. But yeah, it's all erectile tissue. And the vaginal canal, I believe, is all erectile tissue too. It's just like internal erectile tissue as well. But the vaginal canal usually makes more space.
Yeah.
Usually doesn't get like puffy, that makes it tighter. It usually makes more space. The cervix goes up when someone gets aroused to make more space because we're all trying to have babies, right? That's what the body thinks.
Yeah.
And
Sucker.
that's damn you, body.
Got you.
We're not on the same page. We're not agreeing with each other. It's not what I'm trying to do here. Yeah, it's all again like same parts, just put in different places. So, have you heard the book "Come as You Are"? This woman Emily. It's a wonderful book, but that's kind of what her premise is. One, that we live in a penis-centric culture, and the models for what women or female-bodied folks should like is based on what the penis likes or what we think the penis should like.
Oh, wow. Patriarchy of sexuality.
Yeah, but we're conditioned. We don't even know it.
Women fighting back again.
Yeah, we're back. Oh, my gosh. But so behind. We're so behind. I mean, I have clients who are women in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are married, and they're like, I don't know why I don't want to fuck my husband anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, what kind of sex are you having when you do? And it's like pounding, jackrabbity. I'm like, okay, well, or at first, what happens before that? And it's that same thing of, we kiss for 2 minutes or 1 minute, even if we're lucky. A lot of partner people stop kissing. Then they rub my nipples for 5 seconds, and then they start poking my pussy, and then we start fucking. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder you don't want to fuck your husband anymore. But these women think there's something wrong with them. They're the broken ones in their eyes. Because that's not what that's what they see places.
And then Wednesday Martin in what's her book called? Something Truth?
Untrue.
Untrue, yeah.
Uh-huh. She like the female Chris Ryan.
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly, yeah. She gets into how women have even more of a tendency than men to want to, what's the word? Not promiscuous.
Oh yeah, it's for other. Yeah,
yeah.
For newness.
There's a great word for it. Yeah, newness. There's a word I was trying to. I'm brain farting on.
That she uses.
No, it's just a standard word.
Okay.
More
variety.
Unfaith, but that sounds like a slut. Anyways, but variety. Yeah. So like the typical thing, and from an evolutionary perspective, it would make sense that a man wants to like have sex with everything, and a woman wants to like tend the home. But she gets into how. Women have a tendency after like a year or whatever the time frame is of like, wow, I want something different. I feel like I'm broken perhaps because of that, or I don't like sex.
Something wrong with me. Yeah. That's that that
infidelity. That's what I was
yeah.
looking for. Infidelity.
Okay, yeah, cheating, infidelity, and all that stuff. Yeah. Well, that male bodies, they have more testosterone, so they easily get more spontaneous sex drive. Female bodies get a lot of spontaneous sex drive in the beginning when everything's new and exciting. It's the lust phase. Then when they start to habituate, Esther Perel does work around this too, very similar. I identify as painfully straight, but I have a major crush on both of those women, and they're both just like, oh my God, you're brilliant. So but over time, after 6 months to a year to 2 years, depending on your relationship, for the female body person who's more estrogen driven, they don't have as much spontaneous sex drive usually. Some people still do. I know plenty of women who are crazy horny all the time. It's just, I'm like, do you have more testosterone in you? I want what you have. And they're like, it's annoying. Like, I don't think so. Anyways. But over time, what they find is that, yes, male bodies have more sex drive if you're talking spontaneous or libido. But and this is, again, what Wednesday Martin would say is that, but female body folks are completely equal, if not more, with responsive sex drive. Meaning over time now they need the newness, the excitement, the new energy from other people, the new appreciation and admiring, feeling special and wanted and desired. They have a desire for that just as equally as men, but they're actually maybe even more so. And so that it doesn't mean that there's less or more of anything, that they're equal players, but they're operating differently often.
Yeah, all the standards just mess us up.
Yeah.
All the things of like, I think I'm supposed to feel this way, and then you're in this like double bind situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We got to wrap this thing.
Yes, wrap it up.
Normally that's longer than.
What are we doing? I didn't even look.
Hour 20.
Do you? So you usually do? Are you like an hour, 50 minutes person? What do you do?
Oh,
usually?
whatever. I just let it. Whatever. Usually around an hour.
Yeah.
So where should people go for learning more about your stuff? I think you're just fabulous. I had so much fun with this.
My things. Okay, so I wear many hats in this world, but I'm gonna simplify it and just say shameless sex.
Yeah, usually 1 point's the best.
1 point's the best. So I have a podcast as well. It's called Shameless Sex. I know it's a very crafty name. No one had shamelesssex.com. I don't know why.
Wow.
But I do. With my co-host, April, who's like me on 8 cups of coffee. So if you think that he needed to turn up the heat and give me some hot tea to calm me down, I don't know what you would do with her. Put her in the sauna maybe and then podcast with her.
We could do that.
Yeah. And then
nice.
she'd be like, she's wonderful, though. She's one of my best friends. So we do this podcast together. We do a weekly episode every Tuesday. It's on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, all the things. And you can learn more on our website at shamelesssex.com. I also have my information on there, and I work with clients either in person or through Skype or Zoom on their sex and relationship stuff as well. And I teach workshops. But just go to Shameless Sex and you'll learn more. But tell me about yours, because I'm putting this on my episode too. I'm going to say on mine.
Well,
we're swapping.
The
so
Align podcast.
Yeah.
People want to check. Obviously they're prone towards audio. They're audio. How do you call that? Philia? Yeah. Audiophiliacs, maybe.
Is that when they have a fetish?
I don't know.
I have an audio fetish. I get really turned on when I listen.
Yes, I host this podcast called Align Podcast that people are listening to right now on the Align Podcast. So I apologize for this.
That's what happened to the dual release, though. Maybe they forgot where they were for a second. They're like, "Oh yeah, that's where I am."
Good point. Yeah. So I've been doing that for the last freaking 4 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So I've had all sorts of people that be relevant on this. So like my friend Jaya and Sherry Winston and Chris Ryan, a lot of people in like the sexual. I'm just interested in health and wellness and movement, but how like the emotions and all those other aspects kind of entwined to form the way that you stand in your body. So I do interviews with people about that.
And you're a Rolfer, right?
I am a Rolfer.
I say that right.
I went to the school for Rolfing Structural Integration.
Rolfing.
Terrible name.
I do want to just say
work on branding
it's a terrible
that
name.
little mofo.
Rolfing saved my life. I'm just going to put a shout out there to Rolfing. I'll give you a little testimonial. I didn't get it from you, but I had
I'm pretty great.
Oh, yeah, I bet you're pretty great. And I had this sciatica thing when I was like 25, and it was one of those things. It was a chronic pain. Had it for a year. Tried all the things, and I'd had one Rolfing session from someone, and it completely changed my life. In fact, I wouldn't call myself the most flexible, but it made me even more flexible than I had been ever. And so I am a big believer in Rolfing.
Rolfing is good from it's like slower, doesn't always need to be deep. It could be like visceral manipulation or cranial cigarette. There's so many different things that fall under the umbrella of Rolfing. So terrible to say. Rolfing. Ugh.
Yeah.
Structural integration is a better term for it.
I like that.
But it's really helpful tool for like contact, you know, to learning that slow, deep contact allows the person's nervous system to catch up with where the therapist is at, as opposed to me imposing my demands upon you by shaking and rubbing and twisting, and your nervous system's like 3 miles in the back, and I'm all the way up at your shoulder. So there's something really valuable to learning that kind of slower, sometimes deeper contact where the person's actually able to meet you exactly where you're at, and they unwind their own tissue as opposed to you fluffing through their whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we got to wrap up. I got my
visitor.
my human here.
Wait,
All
will you
right.
say your website?
Oh, alignpodcast.com.
Oh, there you go.
Jump on
Thanks.
alignpodcast.com. Yeah, there's like movement stuff. There's an online program, all this stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Good timing.
Boom. Thanks so much. Over and out. Pow.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.